get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Benjamin Ard. You can check him out at getmasset.com. And before I formally introduce you, Ben, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out, since this is part of the SaaS series. Some of the other episodes was real interesting, talking about the journey, the ups, the downs. One of the co-founders of Zapier on, that was a good one. One of the co-founders of Pipedrive on Jotform, how they grew to 25 million users plus. Mailshake, I think 70,000 users. Just really interesting journey. It wasn't always so easy, as we all know. So it was good to hear the challenges as well as the great things and milestones that happen. So check those out on InspiredInsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. Rise25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in two ways. One, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. We do the strategy, accountability, the full execution and production. Number two, we're also an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting, staying top of mind for clients, partners, prospects, even staff, simple, easy, affordable. All you have to do is give us the addresses. We'll do everything else. And it's not like a one-time gift, but we like to send kind of like a campaign of gifts. So like think every 3 to 4 months for 3 to 4 years type of thing. So we kind of call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background to make it stress-free for a company to build amazing relationships so you can run your business. So, for me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways on how I can give to my best relationships. I found no better way over the past 15 years to, one, profile the people and companies I admire on my podcast to share with the world what they're working on. Ben has a podcast too, which we'll talk about. And two, send them sweet treats in the mail. So if you have questions, you can explore more on rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. Shout out to iBrand Visual as well. They created this cool sign behind me if you're watching the video. It was like a long time coming, been probably like a decade. Finally, they're like, yeah, we need to revamp what you have behind you. I'm like, okay, let's do it. They work with, interior and exterior signs from startups to Fortune 500, Virgin, Ritz, and more. So check them out. They don't pay me anything for saying that. I just love their company. So check them out. And I am excited to introduce Ben Ard. He's a co-founder of Masset. Masset is a unified content library for B2B companies. He also hosts the podcast Content Amplified, which I had the pleasure of going on as well. You should check it out. We'll pull it up as well. And I don't know how he does it all with 4 kids and especially 4 boys running around. So Ben, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. This is fun to be on the other side of the microphone. This is great.
I find this to be easier than answering the question, so I'm glad you're on the other side now. But I'm going to pull up your site and just tell people about Masset and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent my entire career in B2B marketing, and I was at a tech company really early on, and then I saw it get all the way to, the IPO. Had a lot of fun there, and we created this really cool content inside the business that we wanted everyone to use and share, but we would store it in Google Drive, and that's kind of where the content went to die. And it is so funny. Every single time I tell someone that story, they all, if they've been in marketing, they nod their heads. Yep, yeah, I've been there before. I create all this content. They're getting inundated with Slack messages and emails. Hey, do we have this? Do we have that? And they're just going across the board saying, yeah, I've already shared this with you. Why can't you find it? And so people are underutilizing and not taking advantage of their content. There's no way to track it. And honestly, they're only getting a sample of it because they're only looking at files. So we created this really cool unified content library where everyone has access. You can use AI. It links to all of your website pages and blog posts and all of your case studies, PDFs, all of that stuff in one place. So honestly, as soon as you need content, you can find it in just an instant and people can progress the journey. It doesn't matter if you're working with customers prospects, people that need training, support, onboarding. You can find the content in the moment that you need it. So that's really our bread and butter is we're trying to make content so easy for everyone in the business to access, use, and ultimately track to make sure that they're making the best decisions with it. And ultimately, like anyone, they're trying to make their customers experience the best thing possible.
Then what kind of content do you see die in your career? I'm just because I know there's a lot of different use cases for this, and I know
Yeah.
there's sales teams, there's customer support teams. What did you see? It was just on a Google Drive somewhere and just was collecting dust.
The number one thing you're going to see is mostly your sales enablement material. So your case studies, your white papers, things of that nature. Those are the kinds of things that get stuck in the Google Drive. They're hyper specific, usually came from an inside request. And ultimately, people just don't know they're there. No matter how many times you email them, for some reason, there's this block. If I have to go hunting for it, it's impossible to find exactly what I need. And that's really the material that people want to consume on the consumer side. They want to hear all of these great stories and information about how their product is changing the lives of other customers. And they're having a really hard time finding, using, or taking advantage of that content. So that's probably the primary use case, I would say, when we roll out to a new business. You have marketing putting the content in the system. Sales is usually one of the first teams to adopt it, but shortly thereafter is support, CS. Anyone that interacts with the customer, honestly, is in there trying to use that to find the right content.
So would an example be like maybe 3 years ago, a sale, someone had a great experience. So someone said, "Hey, we need to collect this case story from them." They get on, they record it, put it on Google Drive, and then no one's able to find it, or no one
And then
knows it's
nobody
there, type of
uses
thing.
it. They spent months and months and months, design work, video editing, all sorts of resources, how's a beautiful story. And then they put it there. And first of all, they have no idea if people are using it. They have no idea if it's actually working. I mean, for the content creators as well, there is no feedback loop traditionally. I get requests, I create content, and then I just cross my fingers someone actually uses it and that it actually moves the needle. And that whole system needed to be revamped entirely. But yeah, like these resources sometimes like a case study can cost you 5 to 10, $15,000. A video can cost you 50,000, and not knowing if anyone's using that or if it's actually doing any good gets really expensive really quickly.
I'm wondering, from a software product, like there's so many things you can do. There's so many things you can create. I'm curious, talk about the features, the evolution of the features. And I do want to talk about integrations because integrations, just to one person seems like simple, but like you have to decide what you integrate with and when. So talk about the evolution of the features a little bit that you've built out.
Yeah, 100%. So early on, it really came from my primary experience. That's one thing that I'm really passionate about when it comes to founders that actually start a business is people that have felt the pain that you're trying to solve. So I feel like we had a leg up from day one where we were able to go into the system and create something that we have always wanted for our own careers and the businesses we've been a part of. But really, we started number one with the idea of we have to build a platform in an enterprise ready way. And this is like the least sexy feature you can possibly imagine. And it's not even like a feature, but from day one, we knew if people are going to trust us with their content, we have to be able to build a platform that can last as much as we possibly can handle. They're going to have to put terabytes of data into the system. We also had this philosophy that unlimited users, if you're going to share content, people have to be able to access it and you shouldn't have to pay for licenses. So even though that's more of a benefit of the company, the whole platform was built from day one to handle that scalability. So as soon as a new client comes on and they launch it to 1,000 people in their organization, that doesn't do anything to the system. It doesn't cause any issues. We can handle that. So those were kind of the first things. Can we put the content in the system? Is it a safe foundation? Things like that. But one story that I experienced that created a really early feature that people still love to this day is when you're in a business on a marketing team, 60 to 80% of the time when someone requests a new piece of content, it's already been made. And what's really sad is sometimes even the content team because of their file systems, doesn't know it exists. So they may go recreate something they already spent $10,000 creating, and they'll make a second or a third version because they don't know where to find it. So what we built into the system from day one is you have to search for content before you can request new content. And that workflow, every single time we talk to someone about that and show them that workflow, they're like, oh, yep, 100%. You've been in my seat. You get me because I can see 100% how people ask before they look, and you flip the script, and that's exactly what we need.
It's almost like a fail-safe built
Yeah,
in.
yeah, 100%.
And from the integration side, right? I know you integrate with Google Drive, YouTube, Wistia, an external URL, Slack. So when someone wants to implement and onboard with Masset, do they then go in and just connect the different pieces and then it makes it searchable? Just explain kind of how it works from the onboarding perspective.
Yeah. So we have made the onboarding process as easy as we possibly can. If you're looking at something like a digital asset management system or sales enablement, one of the biggest hesitancies for people is just that fear of taking the time to get all their content in one place. So for us, we wanted to make sure that we connected with the systems that matter the most. And then also using AI, those integrations are essential for understanding the data and making it really searchable. But for us, we really just tried to build in as many ways as possible to put content in the system as quickly as possible. So you have, from day one, you were able to do single files and multiple files. Then you could do the single URLs. Then we added the CSV uploads where you can do your entire sitemap and put your whole website on. That's when the YouTube and the Wistias came. I would honestly say a lot of the integration priorities have come from our own actual needs, where we say, oh, we have a lot of content on this platform. We need to integrate. And then obviously, as customer requests come in, and one of the biggest ones that we integrated with, because there's the consumption side, the YouTubes and the Google Drives, that's to pull content in. But then we want to take the content to where people are doing work. That's where the HubSpot integration came in. That's where the Slack integration came in. So I'm in one of those two tools. I can look for content, share it, track it, and understand it without ever leaving the platforms I'm already spending all of my time in and day out. So that's kind of where it came. Once we knew that we could get in the majority of their content, we started integrating into the places where we knew that they wanted to consume and track and use that content. So that's where the priorities come from. We're also a very customer centric company. We love listening to customer feedback. And we tend to find a lot of themes where people say, hey, it would be great if this integration can happen. That's where our Notion integration came from. Like once you hear it so many times, you say, okay, well, let's go and build that Notion integration and then intercom and all those kinds of things.
I know that you have a co-founder. Talk about how your roles differ and how'd you meet your co-founder?
Yeah. So what's really cool is we have completely different skill sets. So I am a huge believer that when you have a co-founder who does something completely different than you, it is a really good match. And having a technical co-founder for a long time, when I first left the company I was previously at before I started Masset, I thought I was just going to go out on my own and maybe I could pay like a dev shop or something like that to build the first version. I was planning on being that solo founder. And then I started finding out how expensive things were. And then if you're looking at offshore talent, just I had other founders who had had issues with that in certain ways, others that had success. It was hit or miss, but there was all sorts of stuff. And then eventually I just got introduced through my brother-in-law to Tyler, my co-founder. And I was talking to Tyler, and his skill set was just incredible. He's a technical co-founder. He knows how to develop. And I've been on the marketing side. I felt the pain. I do the sales and the business side. And honestly, we just had a great conversation, but he was in a great position at a great company. And he wasn't ready for being a co-founder. So for him, it turned into great. Instead of letting me offshore just nights and weekends, let me, contract out with you. And that went really well. And honestly, it was just contract work for a while until eventually the time made sense where he said, you know what? Maybe we make this official and I can transition into this company. And that's where everything kind of started. I waited And really, it was the best solution for us. We could have probably launched a lot quicker if I had found someone, over shores or something like that. But it was just really the right fit for us.
Yeah, it's sort of like you dated first a little bit. In that initial
Yeah.
conversation, that makes sense because he's at a place like I'm enjoying what I'm doing. There's more stability obviously that than a startup, and to attract him doing contract work, was it just a straight business arrangement from like a money, or were you saying like, okay, I'd like to offer you some kind of equity, or that conversation didn't come till
Yeah,
sort of
it was
later?
just straight hourly payments. It was just contract work, to be honest. I mean, and I think it's a kind of a cool way to do it, to be honest. I mean, if you're a non-technical founder, going and finding a really talented developer and then really just asking to pay them for contract fees on nights and weekends, really see if they develop an interest in the product and the company, see how you like working with them, all of that good stuff. But really, it's just a matter if you have the financial resources to kind of pay for that. And we luckily had raised an angel round, and I was able to pay my co-founder as a contractor for quite a while.
What made you decide to raise an angel round?
It's a good question. So I had been really in the midst. The company that went public, I had seen firsthand the power of what raising money can do. And so as soon as I left that business, it was fascinating. All of my network immediately surrounded me and said, "Great, we love this idea that you're going to start this business. Let me introduce you to," and every one of them had venture capital contacts. And it was this interesting transition as well. This was July 3 years ago. And we had just transitioned slowly away from the idea that you could raise money off of an idea. And we had just left that. I had friends who literally 2 months prior had an idea and raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to the point where people were like, okay, those times have kind of gone. That's not the case anymore. And so for us, I just went and looked at what the costs and the needs were for the business. And honestly, I just used my personal network and found someone who was really supportive and who was willing to put in some money at the very beginning, who also joined our pre-seed round as well as an investor. And it's been tremendous to have them as a partner. It's been really cool. But for us, it was the right move to make. I think if people can bootstrap that, that's great. But ultimately for us, it was what we needed to do financially.
Benny, I was talking to someone the other day with software company. They went through Y Combinator and they were just saying through Y Combinator, people come in all various stages, right? They just have an idea, they have a prototype, they have customers. Where were you at when you were raising money?
For the angel round, we were an idea. So, and that was a really small round. But it was just an idea, some initial concepts. I think I had some letter of intents. I think that was a great pathway for us. The real race for us was pre-seed.
Like when
And we
you
were,
go to them, you have an idea. Do
yeah,
you have a pitch deck? Do you have like a
yeah,
one-page website? Like what are you showing them
a
at that point?
full-on pitch deck. Yeah, you have the deck. You're talking about it, and I think the biggest thing is the letter of intent to say, "Hey, I have 3 or 4 businesses, or 10 businesses, or 20 who said if this product was built today, they would be willing to purchase." Having those signed letters of intent is not that hard to collect, but at the same time, it's extremely valuable for your business and for your investors to feel like there's at least something that could take off here. But for us, when we raised pre-seed, we had revenue. That was a really big factor for us. And I do think if anyone now wants to raise money, if you don't have revenue yet, it's going to be really difficult.
What was a first major milestone from a customer perspective? The SaaS company I talked to, I think their first customer, and they were going after more Fortune 100, 500 companies. It took them 2.5 years to
Mm.
get their first customer. What was that like for you? Talk about the first maybe celebration
Yeah.
milestone from a customer standpoint.
What was really interesting is our first customers were all paid customers. So I had heard some amazing advice don't give away your product for free because it's not a good indicator, of what people are going to do. And so, but if you do give it away for free, you need to see what the adoption and the usability looks like. So I just decided from day one that even if it was a steep discount, I would not give the product away for free. I needed people to have at least some money on the line. So for us, it was honestly those first few customers, getting that revenue in the door. Those were some big milestones. One of the biggest milestones for me is a fun story. We work with this really cool company called Awardco. And Awardco just raised an incredible amount of money. They're officially a unicorn. Great business. We've been working with them for over 2 years. But we got introduced through someone on their sales team. And it was really cool where it was the first time a business had been working with us where they were actively going through all of the competitors. So other times they're like, okay, here's your problem. Here we can solve it. They're like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's buy. This one was every big name on the list. They were doing their due diligence and they were doing demos with all of them. They got quotes from all of them. And we came in, and these are multi-billion dollar businesses, and we came in and beat them out. And that was one of the cooler experiences for us to know, okay, we do have our philosophy of how we compete is really, really powerful because we had won plenty of contracts before. This was the first time that they were going head to head when it comes to the actual like main competitors in the space.
Yeah, and we're looking on the screen. This is Awardco. They have a cool company here. Empower your team
They're
with
awesome.
recognition that
They're
matters.
such a cool platform.
And then there's the article here, which
Mhm.
talks about they're raising the Series B, which gives them like $1 billion valuation at that point.
Yep. And this is also something cool that I love. Like this article is on our website because we love to just share the good news about our customers. A lot of what you're doing on your podcast, we love to just like, there's nothing about us inside of this article. It's purely about the fact that Awardco is awesome. And we love to do this anytime we have any companies that have major news. We try to stay on top of it. It's gotten to the point where there's a lot of good news for a lot of people. So it's hard to stay on top of it. But we even have like these daily tasks from ChatGPT to kind of keep an eye on some of our customers to make sure that we're getting some good news and all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
here's a bunch of other ones. Job
Yeah.
Nimbus, Invasion. So talk about Awardco for a second. How does a company like Awardco use Masset?
Yeah. So they have their content teams and their groups inside the organization. They are the ones that are the administrators inside the platform. They're centralizing everything in the library. And then ultimately, they're the champions for the rest of the company. So as people used to come to them sending 5, 10 Slack messages a day, they have enabled the entire business to find the content themselves. And with the unlimited seats and all that kind of stuff, just talking to Awardco right there, they were getting, again, that 5 to 10 messages a day for a single person. That was how they were spending most of their day, was answering these messages and finding content for people. They were then, after the implementation of Masset, it went down to like one message a week, kind of an idea. And so for us, it's the marketing or creative or content or product team, sales enablement, whoever's in charge of their content, they're the administrators, and the rest of the business then has access to find, use, and analyze that content in any way, shape, or form, share it externally, and track when it gets open. All of that kind of fun stuff, just a really powerful way for people to use content. So that's really the use case, honestly, as we onboard a new customer. Step one, let's get your content here. Step two, let's get your people here. And then ultimately, it's just connecting those two things, connecting people with content.
And Ben, I know you're like the sales and marketing mind at
Yeah.
Masset. The value proposition to me seems like kind of twofold, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, say like people wasting time, which is lost revenue and dollars and productivity, and also obviously using it to increase sales as well. Is there anything else I'm missing from like, is that how you explain it to
The
customers?
other things, I mean, obviously, any interaction with the customer, whether it be training material, support material, any interaction with the customer is better if you're giving them the right content materials they need. So, yes, increasing your close rate, but it's also increasing your customer satisfaction scores. It's helping people find the needs that they have, it's helping them finding the materials they need. It's really equipping your business to help the customer at any stage of their journey. like you said, also it saves a ton of time and money. I mean, statistics and studies show on average, it's like 8 grand a year that is wasted per employee looking for content day in and day out. And it gets even worse for other departments depending on what they're in. So yeah, absolutely decrease the wasted time and cost, and then ultimately make your customer experience better, whether that's retention, new sales, or even just their satisfaction and opinion of your business and brand.
What I find interesting, Ben, about the journey is kind of how you think about validation. And even in the beginning, when you're raising money, even before you had a product, even before you charged people, you were out talking to people and getting kind of like, okay, an intent letter or whatever it is.
Mhm.
I'm curious, how many people did you actually talk to get, because like obviously if you, oh, we have like 11 intent letters, maybe you talked to like 57 people. I don't know. What did that look like?
Yeah, so I remember this vividly. So I was working at the previous company, and I'm a big believer in having clean lines. And so I went and I had this idea. I went and my wife and I went on a vacation, and I was like, okay, I would like to leave and I'd like to start this kind of a company. What do you need to see to feel comfortable with the idea and everything?
You
And
asked your
she's
wife
like,
this.
I asked my wife this, and she's like, here's what I need to see. So I went and I had conversations with 16 different
She's gonna be way
businesses.
tougher than a someone's giving you money
Yeah,
too.
absolutely, 100%. So that's where the buy-in really needs to happen. And she's been a great support system through the whole process. But I went on that trip, and ultimately we decided, okay, let's get feedback from businesses to see if this is a universal problem. So I distinctly remember we have in those first slide decks, I have this grid, and it was 16 businesses. And of the 16 businesses that I talked to, and it was just informal conversations, I asked how they stored their content, where they stored their content, what they liked about it, didn't like about it, all of that kind of stuff. 15 of the 16 use, your Google Drives, Dropbox, OneDrive, all that kind of stuff, and absolutely hated it. They felt the same pains. They had the same issues that everyone else had. And I felt like, okay, 15 of 16 is a pretty universal problem. If you're looking at it now, it may not apply to the law of large numbers, but it was enough for my wife and for me to say there's something here. I'm not necessarily sure about the right solution yet, but we definitely identified the problem. And to this day, probably the same statistics hold up. 90% of the time, if I talk to people about how they store their content and if they like that system, 90% of the time are really dissatisfied with what they have.
I get the understanding of how, the idea, how you came to it, how you validated it, even so, kind of how you rolled out features for it. And I'm curious, okay, so you get to the point where you're like, okay, I need to validate it with people, taking out their pocketbook. There's no other validation besides that, right? It's
Mhm.
like if someone thinks it's valuable enough, they'll take their wallet out and pay for it. How do you talk about the evolution of pricing? How do you decide on pricing?
Tell you what, we're still going through that evolution. That's probably something that I continue to think about all the time. I actually went on a walk with a friend. A shout out to Jeff Lyman, and we were talking about pricing, and he was like, "Here's the one thing I've learned about pricing. No matter what you do, the first few times you're going to do it wrong. So just accept that and be okay with it." And honestly, that's kind of what I look at pricing at. For us, what I really care about is what I think the value will be for that business and trying to price everything appropriately. Now, when you have unlimited users, it gets tricky. You can't just charge per seat. When you
Microsoft, like,
have,
yes, sign me up for
yeah,
my 10,000 employees, right?
exactly. And at
That's a
some
big
point in time, we
decision when
might
I
have to
saw
change
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But honestly, for
So
early
get in now before he
conversations,
changes it. No, I'm just kidding.
and we'll always hopefully keep a part of that, but the idea for
That's
a
my
lot of
new sales
people,
pitch, Ben. Like I'm on with the
yeah,
company.
get it
Like
now.
we may be, he's not going to keep this, cost per seat, unlimited seat thing forever. So you better get in.
Yeah, and there's just something about that, but we'll try to. It's always a difficult problem. I can't tell you how lengthy of conversations I've had with ChatGPT about, okay, well, how do I do this? Where do I go here? What about other companies? Do the research. And so for us, it is an ongoing process, but really we like to try it. We like to tie it to value. We've built ROI calculators. We've done all sorts of stuff. And just now, honestly, do we feel like we're finding some of the sweet spots where the price matches the value and we're finding the right organizations and all that kind of stuff. But it, it, I don't know. I mean, it will always be a process, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I remember, Ben, there's a lot of parallels. I interviewed the founder of Sweet Process, and they're more dealing with SOPs and housing SOPs. And we talked about that. It's very similar. It's like people can't find, their procedures are in a paper manual somewhere. It's in Google Drive, and they kind of like create this centralized hub for your SOPs, right? Your standard
Mhm.
operating procedures. And we talked about the pricing piece because I thought it was interesting and it's attractive. And we use Sweet Process. We love it actually. But they charge, and again, I don't know at this point when people listen if this changes, but like it's super affordable. It's like $100 a month for up to 20 seats. And then after that,
Yeah,
they start charging or whatever. And it's interesting how he does it. They don't even do it's like active. So if you have like 40 people using it, but only 18 people are in it frequently, they like, I don't know how they figure that out somehow. And they really, you're under the $100 plan, right? So it's pretty interesting.
yeah.
So everyone does it
Active
differently.
users is something
Active
that
users, thank
we're
you.
pushing
Yeah.
towards. We love the idea. For everything that I've read and everything I love is when your incentives are aligned with your customers' incentives. And for a business that charges for active seats, and I love the idea of if someone uses the product once or twice in a month, don't charge them for that. Like that's not a big enough impact in their life. But if they're like a genuine active user getting value out of it, that's a great thing to charge off of. And then what I also love about that is then you're motivated as a business for revenue to make your product so helpful that more people want to use the product and use it on a regular basis. And so you're making it better, they're enjoying it more, and then ultimately everybody wins. So the active user, I would not be surprised if that's in our future. And I love every business that does that because I think that's so meaningful.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely an interesting way. And like as a user of it, I appreciate it. And I'm like happy if like more people are using it and getting value out of it, then sure, we'll pay more. But it's super
Yep.
reasonable. And talk about Big Leap and how do they use Masset?
Yeah. So Big Leap is a really cool agency. Big Leap is going to help you with your SEO and all sorts of really cool things. What was fun is when we talk to a lot of businesses and say, hey, any chance you'd be willing to provide some testimonials? Big Leap was the company that came back and their sales team was clamoring to give their testimonials as opposed to their marketing teams. And again, everyone gets value, but it was so cool to see the business team see how quickly and easily they could find the content they needed for the people they were working with their prospects, with the people. And they're a fun agency. And it was so cool. Operations testimonials, sales testimonials. That was where people are just kind of jumping at the bit. I think they even like unprovoked were sending us testimonials. This is so cool. I love this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So there's a lot of value there. But for them, again, it's that same process of I can now use all of my content. And again, you think like when we look at a typical business, 50% of the assets in their instance of Masset is actual files they upload to Masset. The other 50% is the YouTube videos or the website blog posts or the social media posts or the partner website pages or the press releases or the awards they've won. That material traditionally never gets used by your team with your existing customers or prospects. And now it unlocks that ability for people to use the absolute best material for the people at the absolute best time, regardless of where it happens to be stored, because now it's in this unified library. And so for us, even internally, LinkedIn posts from customers who have posted about us is one of my favorite things. And I don't have to search for it. It's just in the system with the link. I can send it. We're good to go. And all of a sudden it's coming from a customer's mouth. And that was kind of that result when it came to Bigly. Most of their content's on their website. Like any good SEO company, why not? Like, why wouldn't she put it all on their website? And it became the system where now everyone internally could take full advantage of their website content for their prospects, for their customers, for those people. And they had the right material and they didn't really have to care where it was stored or published.
I'm curious what your tech stack looks like. So we talked, I mean, from a user behavior perspective, you're like, okay, I don't even want them logging into Masset per se. It's like they're just kind of getting it from where they usually are, whether it's Slack or their website or Google Drive. I'm curious what your company tech stack,
Yeah.
whether it's project management, support, all those tools that
Yeah.
you like.
Yeah, 100%. And with that, the idea of taking the content to where people are working, a lot of this, we have some really cool things in the works that are coming out later this month, the next month that we haven't announced yet. But really, the idea there is okay, we've found the places that people do work, and we're using AI in really cool ways to bring it to them. As far as our personal tech stack, we are big fans of Slack. Even inside of a smaller organization, we use Slack all the time. Every time, demo forms are filled out, payments are submitted, all sorts of notifications, everything inside that system is housed in Slack. We use Asana for our task management. We're big fans of that. That works really well for us. We're on the Gmail stack when it comes to everything else on that side of things. We'll use Google Hangouts. But the one software that I have to call out is Riverside. So we do have a podcast and we publish 3 episodes a week, and that would be entirely impossible without Riverside because of how cool that platform is. It's a crazy affordable. I have never seen a company release so many features so quickly. And it's just so fun. Every time I get a Riverside email, you'll get those like update emails from companies and you don't really care. When I get those, it's like, seriously, it's like candy. I'm like, oh, yes, like they did it again. They did another awesome thing. And it's like on this monthly cadence. It's so cool. I honestly should be getting affiliate fees from them at this point in time, but like they're amazing. And I've seen that product go from mildly okay to I couldn't imagine ever switching off of it. And so that's another one that I'm obsessed with in our tech stack. And honestly, we other than that, we keep pretty lean. Like
Any other
we can do
apps
most
on your
things.
phone from like a app perspective? It could be business or personal. I don't know. I'm curious what apps
I
you
mean,
you
honestly, on
use.
my phone, from that perspective, I've got my Google Calendar widget, Gmail. We're a Stripe company. That's how we do our processing. So I have that there. We're also on HubSpot for our CRM, Slack, Google Analytics, Asana. Those are the main ones. I mean, and then obviously our market's on LinkedIn, so we spend a lot of time there. But those, I have a whole tab on my phone that's just business, and those are the main ones.
Cool. Ben, first of all, I have one last question before I ask it. I just want to thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey and your stories. It's been really instructive. People can check out getmasset.com. It's get and then masset.com to learn more. You were mentioning around you've gotten some great advice. You mentioned Jeff. I'm curious, who are some of your mentors? It could be not only personal mentors and distant mentors. Like, okay, they gave you some specific advice that was valuable, and or there's some books and resources that you have turned to throughout your business, marketing career. Who are some of your mentors in your journey?
So, 2 people that come immediately to mind are John and Tyler Richards. So, we raised a pre-seed round of funding that was led by Startup Ignition Ventures. And these 2 individuals have been the best partners when it comes to investors you could imagine. They are supportive. They're actively talking to us. And what I love about them, and it sounds weird, but this is just kind of who I am. I can ask them on a regular cadence how I suck, and they will always find things. Like, I mean, there's a lot to find. Don't get me
Just
wrong.
ask your wife.
I know
No, I'm just
exactly. To ask my kids, ask anyone that knows me, but they find really productive ways of building us up. At the same time, they're educating us about the things that we have to be aware of. And we do a pretty decent job when it comes to, we're never unaware of where the metrics are at, things like that. We spend a lot of time and effort, but they always have these fantastic insights. What's so cool about them, they're successful entrepreneurs turned venture capitalists as well. They've been there, they've done that, but they also love the lean startup methodology and they are experts, like they are the teachers of that. We believe in the same philosophy. And so they have been tremendous. I mean, we get on a phone call with them every other week, but I know that if I were to call them at any point in time, they would pretty much do anything they could to help us out. So that's like one of the coolest relationships that we have, is from that perspective. I would also say I just have this really fun network of people that I have grown through the podcast that we run. And that has been a huge benefit. I know that you're such a big advocate of podcasting, but I have been able through that podcast to meet some of the most amazing people throughout the country and the world. And they have actually become these lifelong relationships and friendships and become mentors. I can email them, ask them to tell me like, hey, this product idea, does it suck or not? Can you look at this? And they will give that meaningful feedback. They'll bring their insights. I know about their families. I know about what they're going through. I'm helping them find jobs. I'm connecting them. And honestly, that has become like this network of people I genuinely care for deeply. And they have become some of the greatest mentors, friends, advocates that you could ever imagine.
who are some of those favorite episodes that people should check out?
You know what? It's like trying to pick your favorite child. Like
Well,
that's
listen,
tough. That's a
depending on the
tough
day,
question.
my
It's
daughter
so
asked,
we
"Who's your
publish
favorite?" I go,
three
Depending on the
we
day,
publish
I
three
could
episodes
definitely
a
answer that
week.
question." So,
Jeremy's episode was by far the best,
yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah. No,
Outside
we
of
I mean,
mine, yeah, what are some that stick out?
honestly, there are so many of them, and I would feel bad like mentioning any over any others, but I will say we have had some incredible guests on there about artificial intelligence. But also, what I love is each one, we could talk about the same subject 10 times over or 100 times over. And the different perspective from the different guests brings an entirely different story to it. We had one podcast episode where they talked entirely about how you should ungate everything. We also had another episode where they talked about how you should gate literally everything. Like these are some of the funniest ones and some of the greatest ones. It's so cool. I mean, even looking right here, you have the future of content from SEO to GEO. She is an amazing AI expert who works with cutting edge companies, talks about how to rank on, your LLMs. And then also right next to it, you've got Dan Ring who talks about how the press release isn't dead and all sorts of really cool things. Looking at it, you've got beyond product market fit, why your growth channels matter. I mean, every one of these episodes is amazing. We're talking about guerrilla marketing. This episode right here with Donald was amazing. How to turn LinkedIn to a secret sales weapon.
Donald Kelly. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, he talked about so many cool things, but very tactical advice about how to dominate on LinkedIn. I mean, again, we have 345 episodes that we've published, and every one of them is an amazing expert. And again, these are amazing people that are so awesome. Yeah, it's a great platform for us. Yeah.
Love it. Anyways, I want to encourage people to check out getmasset.com to learn more and more episodes of the podcast. And Ben, I just want to be the first one to thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey with everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on my podcast. Thanks
Love
for
it.
having me. This is amazing. I love it.
Thanks, everyone.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.